10 shocking conspiracies about 9/11. Number 10. How did Building 7 collapse? 7 hours after the final collapse of the Twin Towers, Building 7 of the World Trade Center collapsed. It was the first and only steel skyscraper in the world to collapse because of fire. Despite the collapse making architectural history, all the thousands of tons of steel were taken away to be melted. This removed the possibility of analysing the steel and explaining how it officially collapsed. Conspiracy theorists argue that Building 7 was brought down by a controlled demolition. However, the National Institute of Standards and Technology concluded that it collapsed due to its unusual design. It had restricted foundations due to being built over a subway. As firefighters focused on saving lives rather than putting out building fires, Building 7 burned long enough to weaken and break the beams that held the steel structure together, eventually causing it to collapse. Number 9. Did a missile hit the Pentagon? At 9:43 AM, a Boeing 757 commercial plane flew into the Pentagon. Conspiracy theorists believe that the impact on the building did not reflect the size of the plane, and instead claim that the Pentagon was hit by a missile attack. However, remnants of the airplane have been spotted in photographs of the Pentagon attack, and eyewitness accounts recall an airplane flying into the building. The conspiracy centers around a 3.66 meter impact hole in the Pentagon, which theorists believe to be the missile impact point. This was in fact the Boeing 757's landing gear, which punctured the wall and was found nearby. The main damage to the building was 18.3 meters wide, and forensic evidence shows that the plane lost its wings before impact, making it the perfect size for the plane. Number 8. Did people profit from the 9/11 attacks? In the run-up to the 9/11 attacks, a large number of puts were made against American Airlines, United Airlines, and organizations with tenancies in the World Trade Center. A put is a bet made for stocks to fall, which of course they did. American Airlines stock prices fell by 39%, which translated to around $5 million total profit for those who bet that the stock would fall. These facts have led some to believe that the number of put options increased so dramatically because some people knew that they would profit from deaths caused by 9/11. The Journal of Business states that there was an abnormal measure of activity on the days leading up to September 11, which is consistent with investors trading with advanced knowledge of the attacks. Number 7. Why were the hijacked planes not shot down? Between the first plane hitting the World Trade Center and the fourth plane crash landing in Pennsylvania, there was over an hour for the US military to formulate a response. The fact that none of the planes were intercepted by Air Force jets, especially after the first tower was hit, has led to conspiracy theories that NORAD was deliberately told to stand down and let the attacks occur. It turns out one group of fighters was scrambled, but they headed out to sea, away from the unfolding attacks. However, NORAD wasn't notified about the first plane hijacking until 8 minutes before the plane hit the tower, and 2 jets were scrambled but were still south of Long Island when the second tower was attacked. NORAD didn't even receive information about the fourth plane in Pennsylvania until 3 minutes after it had crashed, making it impossible to respond. Number 6. Did intelligence services have prior knowledge? On May 1st, 2001, the CIA warned the White House that a group within the US was planning a terrorist attack. Over the next few months, other warnings were made. On August 6, 2001, President Bush received a classified document prepared by US intelligence agencies entitled Bin Laden Determined to Strike in US. The memo stated that FBI information indicates patterns of suspicious activity in this country, consistent with preparations for hijackings or other types of attacks. Despite all the warnings, no preparation seemed to have taken place, and there were no warnings made to the public about the suspected terrorist attack. In fact, following 9/11, the White House denied it had any specific intelligence about an impending attack, but these memos seem to indicate otherwise. Number 5. Terrorist recruitment. Former counter-terrorism advisor Richard Clarke has made the explosive allegation that the CIA tried to recruit 9/11 hijackers. Before the attacks, the CIA withheld crucial information from the government that 2 Saudi jihadists had arrived in the US. They had attended a terrorist gathering in Malaysia just days before. These same terrorists went on to become suicide hijackers on 9/11. Why would the CIA hide this information from the White House for so long? One theory is that the agency was trying to secretly hire the terrorists to work undercover in Al-Qaeda. The CIA has called these accusations baseless, but the cover-up still has government officials suspicious of the agency's true motives. Number 4. $1 trillion cover-up. On September 10, 2001, the Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld declared war on the Pentagon bureaucracy. Rumsfeld claimed that America's Department of Defense was wasting vast amounts of money on the military. In fact, he announced that the US government had lost $2.3 trillion and couldn't account for 25% of its military spending. Rumsfeld arranged to change the Pentagon spending program the next day. But, perhaps conveniently for the Bush administration, the country was victim to a terrorist attack on September 11th, and Rumsfeld's admission received scant news coverage. Officials later claimed that the money was never truly lost, but untracked in a complex accountability system. Number 3. What happened to the flight's black boxes? Flight recorders are near indestructible instruments, which are required on all passenger planes to keep track of a plane's speed, altitude, movement, and conversations in the cockpit. According to the 9/11 Commission report, no recording devices were ever found at the World Trade Center crash site. But on September 14th, a paramedic and firefighter did discover 2 damaged black boxes among the wreckage. A source from the National Transportation Safety Board has also spoken out, claiming that it helped to analyze the very boxes that the FBI claimed are missing. Why would US intelligence want to conceal such vital information? Conspiracy theorists believe that this is further proof that 9/11 was an inside job to initiate the war on terror. Number 2. What happened to Flight 93? United Airlines Flight 93 was one of the 4 planes that was hijacked. Using the airphones on board, the passengers soon learned that their plane was destined for a terrorist attack. They decided to take a stand and overthrow the terrorists, bringing down the plane in the process. However, some argue that Flight 93 was really shot down by a missile from the government to prevent it hitting the planned target. A jet was seen by multiple eyewitnesses flying over the debris shortly after the crash, but authorities have stated this was a private aircraft asked to investigate the crash site. Number 1. Were explosives used to bring down the towers? Spawned by witness reports of explosive sounds and the way in which the buildings collapsed, some people believe that the Twin Towers were brought down intentionally using explosives. Leslie Robertson, the original structural engineer of the Twin Towers, has explained that the sound of explosions was in fact caused by the banging of steel floors collapsing on top of each other. This was coupled with small blast noises made by the air being squeezed out of the buildings as they gave way. Rescue workers found no evidence of controlled explosives on the site, but physicist Stephen Jones believes thermite was used to demolish them, which can melt steel in seconds and leaves no trace.